So today I would like to speak about what it is like to be in a recycling pathway. So instead of looking for love outside of the self, it's to be able to use the materials and ingredients of what's already here to increase the transformation cycle. In other words, what is in the cycle can be recycled and refined, and this leads to sustainability. So some of the ways in which I'm gonna bare myself and share some of the ways in which I look for love outside of myself. Um, Feel free to write your own or think of where this applies to you. So for me, it's getting away with it. Just whatever it is, clinging to pleasure or to the object of pleasure, and honoring ideals over needs. Like, I want to be this person who is totally composed versus looking around and seeing if anybody else realizes what's going on and then talking to them. I just sometimes find myself trying to be somebody rather than actually meeting the needs of myself or the situation. So when I go deeper into that and I say, why am I looking for love, for true love outside of myself? I say, there's this little story here. So I wrote it, and it says, I'm sick of listening when I don't want to. I'm sick of paying attention to people who are stroking their own ego, and I'm sick of having to keep up with my own memories or imaginations of how much I should be able to do. And I'm sick of wanting to dance and sing around judging and parasitic people. I'm sick of power-hungry people trying to find control over others in whatever ways they can, even when it's in traffic or in pedestrian walking. And I went deeper into that. And I said, why is this so personal? Why am I looking outside of myself to any of these people? And I resent people who treat me as an afterthought, and I don't matter. Or when I ask for help and they ignore, thinking they're going to get away with it. I resent the people who never check in on me or appreciate me when I take time and energy and love to share with them. But they're so busy with everything and everyone else. But the one who comes to them in the moment that I do and act like they're so busy with everyone and everything else, but the one who's coming to them in the moment that I do come to them. And they act like I'm significant and worthless. So now I can really get to the core of this, which is that there's something inside of me that doesn't have enough. So I'm going out looking for it. I'm saying I need attention. I need to feel like I matter. I need to have some weight. I need to feel like I can make a dent on the situation. And I went underneath it and I said, what is my belief here? And the belief is I'm uncared for. And this is where I focus on where it hurts so I can avoid being in the same position. So I'm almost like finding myself checking these relationships to see if they'll be there for me, even though I keep having the same answers, that they're so overwhelmed, they're in lack, they don't have enough to share. So I'm ending up in lack, going to someone in lack, thinking this person doesn't care about me, but they don't even care about their self, or else they would cut away some of their own burdens. And this piece in I can also say no. That's really underneath this belief. So I'm finding a lot of opening here. And then the other belief I'm seeing under all this is that I'm going to crack under the pressure, that I have a hollow, empty core. I can't handle it. I need something from outside of me to fill me up inside. Otherwise, I'm going to have a sense of crumbling. I'm not sturdy enough. I'm not withstanding enough. I'm not enduring enough. These beliefs feed into this. And it could be from one situation. Who knows? I could explore this deeper. But for right now, it's not trusting people, that because when I try, I'm let down repeatedly. So it's like this empty sense of I don't have what it takes. And then it leads to not trusting people, because I keep trying to have them have what it takes, but they don't have what it takes to be me in my situation any more than I do. If in fact they probably have less of what it takes to be me in my situation. So it's really important to recognize where and why I'm looking for this love outside of myself. And the story is always changing. It doesn't matter really the narrative. It matters that we get underneath it, the underbelly. And then I see what is really, really, what am I looking for? What's my desire? And I took some time and I got the answer. One is to have the stability. I desire the stability from the inside for a secure home, for my home to feel safe and comfortable, for a steady flow of income so I could buy everything I need. It's the sense of wanting to have stability of the resources. And that's something that is a very useful piece of information, that the desire is to have stable resources, to never enter into lack again. It doesn't mean I'm in lack now. It means that I'm trying to look outside of myself to make sure I won't end up in lack again. That's a keep peace. And the second part of this, the desire, is I want to be living with people who genuinely love me, are patient with me, and supportive. And so whether or not it means that I have that now, it means that I'm trying to prevent a situation where I'll be with people who don't love me and don't support me in my home and who are impatient. So in other words, I want to have the resources stay stable, and I want to have the peace stay stable. So it's like I'm trying to continue this cycle, but I'm so afraid that it's going to end that I'm actually going outside of myself looking for something to fill me up, because just in case something happens, I won't be ready for it. So this is where the healing comes in. So now we talk about self-recycling, different aspects of this, the evolutionary processes. So spiritual evolution is following light. It's trusting the invisible ladder. It's being wherever you're at and trusting you can get out of the situation when you need to, when it comes. It's trusting the ladder will be there, and it's invisible, it's in the dark, you can still climb it. So even if I'm afraid of resources and I'm preempting, a state of crisis by going outside of myself to see where I could fulfill and get needs met, I'm actually sort of feeding into this deprivation kind of by not trusting that I'll always have the resources come to me, even invisibly, even in the dark. So then there's this sense of how can I really engrave this into myself? There's this idea of reshima, and I believe it's Christian and Jewish, or it's a Kabbalistic concept I heard, but it means engrave. It means that you can't see unless the darkness is before the light. It's kind of like you can't see the light on light. You need to have edges so that you could see. So engraving this idea into my heart that I have enough, I am enough, it will be provided, there will be enough. What I have now, focusing on how safe and comfortable I am, focusing on how all my needs are met, I have everything that is necessary. So in this case, it's like engraving that into the heart means that I know it from looking at this darkness. So actually, this recycling path of transformation, where it started from, paranoia, feeling unlovable, takes us deeper into I want to continue being cared for. I want to continue to be okay. So I need to engrave this, but I also need to realize that this negative end of it, of this fear of it not being here, is what brings me to the light that it is here. And it's the next level's residue, is kind of like the light hits the edges. Like I said, you need edges. So the light has to hit the dark, the trust that it's all going to be okay, and I'm going to start to live in such a way where it's all going to be okay through this personal journey. And it happens many, many times. Each time we reach here, this point of the cycle, we say, I'm going to choose to live this way now. And so the future blessings can come that are even greater than somebody who's trying to look to gather in like a squirrel, gathering in all the nuts for the winter just in case, and gathering all the friends and networks just in case, actually living like it's there already, and then sort of maintaining it is a higher level. I don't want to use the word higher, but it's a more sustainable level where new things can even come in, new blessings that I can now maintain. Because I'm not so much earning, I'm maintaining. I'm maintaining by continuing and increasing the level of wastelessness by using every part, that even the darkness brings the light. Even the darkness is necessary for the light to have something to rub against. And there's this idea of the comet's tail. You don't see the comet flying. You see where it's hitting the edges, the friction of, it's like heat. And you see the fire, the light of it. It's like the light is what you follow, the tail. And it's kind of like the residue of the next level is the same idea as the residue of the past. So like I said, fear of there not being enough, fear of there not being the support I need in my home, fear of the home feeling lonely, fear of feeling isolated without anyone to ask for help. These moments that have happened before are kind of what I'm filling into the darkness. I'm saying this is what will happen in the darkness of the future, because it's, you can't see it. But then that's where the light can hit the edges. That's where I can see, hey, what I've been thinking about and my fears, which I may have not even known, it might be a lot of this is invisible or kind of automatic processing. We see we're filling in, these fears are things that already happened. It's like we're following this tail, but it already happened. The comet moved, but we see the tail. So it's like the situation has already changed. We're in motion, but we still see like kind of where we just were. So it could be a few years ago, it could be 10 years ago, it could be last year, it doesn't matter, but we see where we just were. It's an energetic, psychological past. It doesn't have to be physically. It could be that I've been in a safe home for years, but I still have built into my organs and body some level of this fear that there won't be a safe home because of that moments where there wasn't a safe home, especially if it was long-term or I ignored it. And now we go into this idea of makom, and I want you to try to say this word, makom, with the om in it. Makom. And this is timeless, spaceless location. This is where we recognize we re-enter, like the comet's tail, the past. We're filling in what was already there into the future. It's like a residue into the future of what was there already. It's engraved, kind of. It's the same idea that the future is meeting us here too. We sort of feel unhappy or displeased at times because of we have to prepare for the future. We need to elevate. We need to let go of some of this lower level cycle where things might take so long, or we might try to do it perfectly without actually meeting the goal. Not the goal, but like the requirements. And we start to realize what I fear is from the old paradigm attachment to what was already received, whether it was curses or blessings. If there's something I'm knowing, it's from a previous encounter where we would say this engraving, but it doesn't have to be an engraving. The engraving is from actually what will happen and actually what happened, but we absorb a lot. These are things that could make us feel like we'll crack under the pressure. If the darkness didn't come, I wouldn't have let go. So we absorb a lot of information, and now we have to let go of what we've absorbed. If the darkness didn't come and I didn't know, I needed to find something to hold on to, I would stay holding on to this, which feels safe, which feels secure, and may not be. So the rest is like a refraction. It's like the light hitting and bouncing off. The rest is necessary for natural. So we say reflection, refraction, but actually, if you want to think of an orgasm for a male, they have something called a refractory period. After, the peak of sensation, afterward, there's like a period of rest, which is necessary. So it's like the comet's tail. You wouldn't see it if it was on light. You would see a bright light, and then it moves to the next place. It's not like it stays there. The rest happens. So if another thing would come right by, so it's kind of like this idea that things are happening in the cycles. Naturally, we have to be aware of that, but also there's this sense of rest and restoration, darkness after light, which allows for the light, the trail, to be seen. If there was no afterglow in a darkness, we wouldn't see, and we call it after sex afterglow. If there wasn't darkness after the peak, there wouldn't be an afterglow. There needs to be something to glow in other words. So have to believe in the vessel's capacity for light. In the afterglow, it tells us that we exceeded the light that was before. If there's a comet's trail, it exceeds the light that's around it. So by seeing the light now, the next level of this recycling process is, okay, I actually can hold more light than I realize now. I just got an infusion of light, and I'm in darkness, and there's this yoke of heaven, which means the invisible ladder, trusting the divine plan, is teaching me what I'm capable of and my greatness. And also, instead of staying small with what I think my greatness and my abilities are, it's this, based on how I already know myself, it's confronting more lightness and more greatness in these 5 areas, which are heaviness, sickness, cravings, fulfillment, or lack of fulfillment, and weariness. So I'm going to go through these 5, and I'm going to say that the yoke of heaven, or this invisible dark lightness that can only be seen when we have these beliefs start to show us where we're really at, and that what came before was absorbed before, and it's possible to let go and rest here in the space of makom to see actually what will occur. And there's this idea of a refined system. As we recycle, the fact that we're recycling these energies and seeing the details of them actually informs the system. It's like immunity. The pathogens that come into your body, you actually have special cells that eat them up, and then the little pieces of them inform the immune system for future. So if it would just release everything like pus or break it all down, you wouldn't have that information which feeds your system to be better for the future. Now you have a more stronger like glow or light that if something should happen, you're actually more equipped. So the very fear that I won't be equipped for the fears that are coming, for the scary things that could happen, like my home could be insecure, I could have nobody to turn to, I could have no resources. Those very fears inform the system on how to maintain a higher level of security and stability. So this is such necessary work. And I'm going to talk about these 5 issues. Heaviness, thinking I'm the only one for somebody else, thinking someone else is the only one for me. So this is where I'm going into these kind of residues of beliefs that caused the fear of cracking under pressure, or that there won't be, or that we're not cared about, or that that we won't be around people who are supportive and patient and loving, or that we won't have stability or security in our livelihood and home, and so on, money. And so anyway, so one of them is the heaviness, is thinking there's only one. I'm the only one that can do this for them, or they're the only one that can do it for me. Instead of realizing there's so many, or thinking even it's basically attaching a lot of weight onto one person. And that even could be with physical weight. It's important to remember that feeling the weight, the scale number could be high. It's more about someone in the stature and shape. You might be surprised at how much some people weigh who are very small, and also how little some people weigh who are very big. So it's kind of letting go of this number and thinking about how, you might have somebody who is excellent doctor, but they would be the worst doctor for you. It would not help you. So it's letting go of that weight of these quick judgments on ascribing a lot of heaviness onto somebody's ability or our own. Like, maybe I'm a great artist, now I feel I have to say yes, I'm the only one who could help this person with their art project. Actually, that puts heaviness on me, and that will make it impossible to be part of the recycling process in the right way, which is to be able to trust that everything will be taken care of. And it's not only me. We could do our best, but if I am in the absorbing of the past, I think, there won't be anyone around to help, so I have to help this person. Sickness. Doctors are often predators looking for weakness. It doesn't mean that they're, it's like a leech that will come and take away the bad blood, like how they used to do it, but it doesn't mean it's not a leech. So a doctor makes his job in the West, by finding things wrong with you, and you go there when there's something wrong. In the East and some other places, actually the doctor maintains your health, makes sure you're okay. They get paid if you're healthy. They don't get paid if you're not healthy. So in this country, we have doctors get paid if you're not healthy. They look for things wrong. So they soothe their existential and powerlessness by highlighting others' fallibility. So they can secure their job and have a place to live and feel cared about if they continue making sure that you don't feel secure or stable. And so this sickness is feeding into the sickness. If all you know is sickness and you keep seeing doctors and you keep being around that energy, and yes, of course you need doctors with the cure. God also made, in the religious or spiritual or higher power mindset, you would say God made the doctors to help us. So we're all, I'm sick of these kinds of doctors, and we're all sick of these kinds of doctors. It's created a healthcare crisis. It's created insurance crisis. It's created a lot of people with disability. It's created addiction to medications. So sickness, it's looking at it as like, if all you know is finding weakness and going to somebody who's going to help find weakness, even if they're paid to do it, you will start to value somebody and think it costs money to find weakness and problems. And with computer system, you don't have the excitement to find problems. You actually want to set up the code so that it works very well, and so it doesn't need constant maintenance. You want things to go smoothly. So we have to also look at this as like, what kind of doctors are we going to? Like I said, with heaviness, is it only me or only this person? So what kind of doctors? Let's look at this as like, we have to switch towards internal medicine, and then we have to switch to functional medicine. We have to look at the internal system and how it's all related. The same blood moves all different parts of the body, and even if you say we don't get blood into the brain, the materials like the glia, which are the materials which the glia use to support the nervous system cells of the brain, have to take that out of the blood, and so there's a blood-brain barrier. So it really is necessary to look at this as one big system, and going to too many specialists who deal with only one little part and don't look at how maybe the reason you're standing like that is because of that, and the reason your feet are like that is because of that, and your kidneys, and you really have to look at it as a whole system. And then we look at cravings. And this is how you recycle your energy. You spend less time going to people who keep finding problems, and you spend more time maintaining what's working and actually putting in time to do soft moving exercises, to eat some natural foods, not to spend as much time in front of the TV, to do some deep breathing. People don't want to make time for these kinds of things because there's kind of that getting away with it, right? I talked earlier about getting away with it is and clinging to the relief, the pleasure. This is and honoring ideals over needs. This is why we might keep going to the doctors, or why we might have that heaviness. And then, of course, cravings, letting all the wanting pleasure culminate into one target. All this desire for being okay comes into this one thing. This is going to make me okay. And then this buildup of feeling the anxiety of being empty and cracking under the pressure as if hollow, is this buildup to desiring to lower the standard so I can have a break from responsibility. So this, again, is like, I'm looking for true love out of myself that tells me it's okay to just relax, And that's really where a lot of the craving comes from, is that, could I just please get a break? Am I doing enough? And the break tells us, like the treat. If you've been trained with treats, it's like you've been trained with food. It tells you, oh, you're good, you're doing enough. And we let all that wanting for approval, all that wanting for validation, all that wanting to know that we're cared about and we're going to continue to be cared about, we want to lower how much we have to do. We want to get away with it. We want to cling to pleasure, and we want to honor ideals over needs. And then there's fulfillment, or lack of fulfillment, is not slowing down enough to enjoy the journey without desperately needing a destination. It's like clinging to this place I have to get to, this check I have to make on my to-do list, the conversation I need to have. I'm not even enjoying it. I'm rushing through it so I could get to the next thing. And instead of admiring the greatness and the bravery of others around me, their stamina and their courage, like, wow, look what that person can do. Or imagine you tried to do it. Instead of being in that mindset, we end up like looking for weakness, like I mentioned, the doctors. That's feeling powerless. That's highlighting others' fallibility. We think we're doctors telling everyone with criticism how to get happier, how to get healthier, how to be better. We're telling them how to be more lovable instead of admiring their greatness. So we're not being the one that anyone can turn to. We're being the one that tells everyone, you're cracking under the pressure, you are not cared about, you don't have what it takes. And this perfectionism of like trying to do it perfectly and then get away with, like, in other areas of life we may overcompensate, so we won't feel fulfilled if we don't just do it sometimes, even imperfectly, even not exactly, and circumstance depending if possible. Just get through it, try new things, make a mistake, fall. But if we're gonna feel unfulfilled if we can't be part of this recycling process. And finally, there's weariness. High energy output can't always be trusted. It may have a veneer or facade. It's kind of like the fake perkiness, that weather lady who's like, na, and you just can't stand her. But like, you also, in many parts of your life, might try to be like that. And in other words, we are wary of others who are trying to pretend they're happier than they are and have higher energy, but we don't remember that is what is too much energy coming out of us that will make us crack under the pressure. We're trying so hard to be this like bubbly, charismatic, even if that just means quietly smiling at everybody, but actually feel like dying inside and your whole face is drooping. It takes a lot of energy to keep it all together. So if you're on top of that, also trying to do everything, you will feel like you're going to crack under the pressure. And then you're going to look for ways to just like let it all hang out and be a mess, So it makes us very weary to put on this facade and the veneer, of always having to look perfect and whatever that means, right? And clinging to this idea of like at every moment I'm beautiful and desirable, and whether you're a man or woman, just like this attractive demeanor or attractive appearance. Then, of course, favors often are disguised selfishness. Many have hidden motives. So if you're looking to give things in order to get, or you're trying to like take care of somebody so that they'll be there for you, again, trying to have that stable and reliable and secure home or livelihood or group of people who love you. We could call that extended family or chosen family or, desired family. So if we're not really giving because we have abundance, there's that huge heaviness on it. And it takes a lot of energy to think I'm the only one, they're the only one, I want to be the one who could do it. And finally, some can only accept what they understand, even if that means they're actually denying the truth, even misleading others. So if we're so busy trying to convince people, that's a lot of energy. It makes us weary. And it also makes us suspicious. So, I mean, both kinds of weary, actually. Weary, like W-E-A-R-Y, and W-A-R-Y. So the weary, like the dragging kind, like it's just too much energy. What are you getting out of this? If you're putting in this much energy, you're only doing that if you're getting something out of it. Otherwise, it would just radiate off of you. So if you're putting in all this energy to convince people and lead people and be patient with them, it must be serving something in you, perhaps denial that you don't have to face the truth because you've got people on your side who agree with you. And you're getting away with it. You're getting away with having to face, your mistakes or your ignorance. So the self-recycling process is clearly able to be very complex, but it's also quite simple. And I wish you security, stability, to be with people who love you, who are patient and supportive, and to choose to look for that true love inside of you that doesn't lead to heaviness, sickness, craving, unfulfillment, or weariness, and to access that makom, that spacious, spaceless, timeless expanse of the light, the comet trail, where the light can show up in. So to be part of that allness is to be able to allow, even in the darkness, the invisible ladder,